It is Thursday, January 11th, 2024. This is another edition of Football Today. You know that dude, Bobby Skinner from the Talking Giants world. I am Chris Rose, producer Mikey along for the ride as well. Boy, oh boy, what a turbulent 24 hours it's been, and not only in the NFL coaching world, but college football as well. Did you see all this stuff coming?
The Nick Saban one actually shocked me. That was shocking news. But, we had to, two guys, the two greatest in their business and former Cleveland Brown coaches, Belichick and Saban, are out, which is Belichick not shocking. Saban, I was shocked. I know he's 74 years old, but I do think the NIL and all that stuff played a part in this, where it's like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, could be. But this is NFL talk, and so let's start with Bill Belichick. So the announcement came early on Thursday. I don't think it totally shook the NFL world by storm in terms of shock value, but now the fact that we're dealing with this, that for the first time in a quarter century, they need to fill the head coach and basically player personnel role all in one fell swoop. Here is Bill Belichick and then Robert Kraft.
This many cameras since we signed Tebow. Robert and I, after a series of discussions, have mutually agreed to part ways. And for me, this is a day of gratitude and celebration. Start with Robert and his family. It's great. So much thanks for the opportunity to be the head coach here for 24 years. It's an amazing opportunity. Received tremendous support. We had a vision of building a winner, building a championship football team here, and that's exceeded my wildest dreams. So I'm very proud of that, and I always have those great memories. I'll carry with those with me the rest of my life. It was a great team effort, and everybody put everything they had into it, and that's why we were successful.
And I believe go in as a Pro Football Hall of Famer on the first ballot. Why? Because he is the greatest coach of all times, which makes this decision to part ways so hard. But this is a move that we mutually agreed that is needed at this time.
And I don't think anybody is surprised. That last line by Kraft pretty much summed it up, that it felt like it was time.
Yeah, all good things come to an end, right? And I don't remember what coach it was. Maybe it was even Andy Reid that said, like, hey, once you hit 10 years with an organization, like it's just things get stale. It's time to move on. To get 24 years and get, again, unparalleled success. Nothing ever like this. Even with Brady, he went on and won a Super Bowl, put up big numbers with Tampa. That last year in New England, it felt like time, right? And I don't think they should. I think they should have done everything to stay together. But that year, the defense was much better than the offense. The defense was the best in the NFL, and the offense was really struggling. And I think Belichick is going to go be a great coach somewhere, and I hope it's for the Chargers, which we'll talk about. But it was time to move on from the Patriots. They need a reset, and you have championship expectations, and that's not what these next couple of years are going to be in New England. So I think it was time for both sides on this, and so I think it's one of those true mutual partings.
Boil it down to its simplest form in the NFL, you got to answer two questions, right? When you're evaluating your organization. Do we have the right quarterback? Do we have the right coach? And for more than 20 years, the answer was yes and yes. And it wasn't even a debate up there in Foxborough, which is, to me, the most amazing part of this. The thing is that when you played New England, you knew you were going to lose the coaching battle. Like, if the game was close at the end, Belichick was going to figure out a way to win. There were times where he would do stuff that seemed illegal with the rules, and then afterward we find out that no. Like, there's nobody that knew the rule book better than Bill Belichick. So he was, whether it was stuff with formations or getting guys to check in, and like we were all like, what? Like, he taught us so much about football and how to utilize guys and playing Troy Brown on defense and offense, and the dude made it interesting with what at times appeared to be a very boring franchise.
Yeah, and I'm not going to let the last 2 years change my view at all. This is a guy who was, the system changed year over year. They were always 2 steps ahead with league trends, right? When there was trends in the league, oh, we want to get light, which means, okay, defenses are going to get light. Okay, we are going to start utilizing the fullback a lot more. Whether it was, always 1 step ahead on letting players go, whether it was Chandler Jones or even though Chandler Jones was still great in Arizona, but letting players go and be able to replace them and get the most out of players. Even this year, as bad as this year was for the Patriots, they had a top 10 defense without their best 2 players, Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez, basically out for the entire year. I mean, Kyle Duggar was probably their best player, and he had to play a little bit out of position because of the other injuries and other personnel on the team. Those first 3 Super Bowls were teams led by defense. I just, he created the man match defense with him and Nick Saban in Cleveland, right? And that's like it changed the game. I'm excited to see what's next because I think he's the greatest coach of all time, and I don't think you need 6 Super Bowls to say that. It's just everything he did, he was 2 steps ahead.
He's the greatest coach in any sport, not just this one, because the game isn't designed to have sustained success over the period of time that he did. It's just not. It's not, because you can't rely on 1 or 2 guys. You need a full team. When guys get better and teams get better, guys get paid, they have to go elsewhere. Like, it's just not built for that. And somehow he has kept it together. And listen, there's not any question whether or not the guy can still coach in his early 70s. The guy can still coach. What he can't do is he can't evaluate certain positions. And maybe he's having a tough time evaluating an offensive coaching staff when the guy running it is not named Josh McDaniels. And as we do look forward, because there is going to be a forward, to me, the best landing spot for him, no question, is the Chargers. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I've been trying to speak this into existence. He's going to get the most out of that defensive group with the Chargers, right? We've seen him do it continuously with less talent in New England year over year. And you have a great quarterback, like a certified great quarterback who can play and be good in any system. Even when the system's bad, like Mike Lombardi's, like Herbert was still great in that system, and adjust year to year. So if you can get the right offensive coach, and even though I hate Josh McDaniels as a head coach, I think they're like, when the Raiders hired him, I was like, I cannot believe someone's falling for this again. I actually think they would be a good fit to bring McDaniels with him to the Chargers as the offensive coordinator. So yeah, to me, the Chargers is like the landing spot. And again, find a GM, like you said. Don't let him be the GM, but let him be the head coach and have some, input in personnel and stuff. But at the end of the day, you have someone who is a true GM.
Well, that's the biggest key, is that a lot of these teams are going to be so desperate to bring Bill in, right? Whether it's an Atlanta, a Chargers, some organization that hasn't kissed a Lombardi trophy, and they're going to be staring across the desk at a guy who's got 6 rings, on one hand, and he might say, hey, I still want to pick the groceries, right? To use a line from one of his mentors in Bill Parcells, he might say that. And if that's the difference between getting Bill Belichick to coach your team and not, how are those teams going to say no?
Yeah, but I think at the same time, Bill probably would like to take a step back from.
Do you think so? Well, then why didn't he do it in New England?
Because it was just time for a fresh start, and it's easy. It's a lot hard to let go of a current role you have in a new place than going into at the current place and then going into the new place and like, hey, it's a little bit less. And it's, again, we say less a role. Head coach is still the most important, employee on in the building, right? It's more important than the GM to me. Especially when you have a guy like Bill Belichick. So, but yeah, it's crazy that it's over, man. Like it's gonna be weird seeing him on a different sideline, and I hope he gets to play New England.
Oh yeah, you know what? Now that we've got that 17th game, and I know that formulaically it's already filled out. Wherever he goes, the league should usurp that and figure out how to get his team to go play at New England next year. I don't care.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I want him to be with the Chargers, right? I don't want him with a rookie QB. I want him with like that. I want him with that certified great quarterback in Justin Herbert. And I don't think it's up for debate that Herbert's great either.
Yeah.
And I really think, I don't know, like you said, he's 74 years old now, or whatever it is.
I think he's 71.
Yeah, I wonder how much longer he's going to actually want to be in this next place. Um, and I think the Chargers are the best spot where like we're not starting from the ground up like the Washington Commanders or another team would be.
By the way, how funny is it that 72-year-old Pete Carroll and 71-year-old Bill Belichick might have to arm wrestle for a job they're fighting for? That's what I would see. I'd like to see that. Literally, like we decided by arm wrestling.
I think Pete Carroll would get him. He's the youngest old guy I've ever,
Hey,
7-year-old I've ever seen.
I think that Belichick with the hair on the arms,
A little
on the
barrel chested
forearms,
too. That's true.
yeah, he might end up winning that one. We'd have to see. Very quickly, New England.
Belichick would know. Belichick knows every single like angle of like arm wrestling and stuff.
Yeah.
You know how there's like kids out there who like they just study it and they're like, he knows every angle of arm wrestling. I actually changed my mind. I got Belichick.
There you go. Patriots. Gerard Mayo's a guy in the building who we've heard about for years. Former linebacker there that would make total sense. Mike Vrabel dismissed the other day by the Titans. He's another guy, former linebacker in that building. We'll see. We'll see how it all plays out, and we'll be excited to talk about it here on Football Today. Something else we're excited to talk about is Super Wildcard Weekend, which is now just a couple days away. Let's start with the middle game on Sunday. The Packers and the Cowboys are meeting for the 9th time ever in the playoffs. They've split the first 8. Dallas is not only the lone unbeaten team at home, they have whooped up the competition in 6 of those 8. Do you think that Green Bay will keep it close, let alone win this one?
On paper, I would say no, but Dallas, man, it's just the last month they've shown it's hard to trust them, right? They almost lost 3 straight if the refs don't make a huge mistake in that Lions game versus 3 playoff teams, but I don't think any of those 3 were like elite teams either. But I'm gonna just stick to like on paper with this, right? Like I think they're far superior to Green Bay. Dak's been amazing all year. That Joe Barry defense stinks and is built on playing off coverage. Bryce Young and Tommy DeVito tore it up. Baker Mayfield had a perfect passer rating. They've come off of 2 good, outings, but those were against Jaron Hall and Justin Fields. You got CD, like what is their answer going to be for CD Lamb, who can work outside and inside, and then you have Brandon Cooks, who's been really good in the Reds. Like, to me, on paper the Cowboys should work that Packers defense. So I'm sticking that the Cowboys are going to win this one pretty easily. I mean, Packers might be able to hang around, but then I don't think the Cowboys will be sweating it in the fourth quarter.
I do hope that the Packers hang around a little bit because they have actually been one of the more fun teams to watch this second half of the year. Just because they got so many damn kids catching the football. And I think that's been fun, right? Jayden Reed, I'm a huge fan of. Romeo Doubs, if he can make it through a game, will always give you something. This kid Tucker Kraft has played well. Musgrave might be back this weekend. That'd be fun if we could get him. And Aaron Jones, 3 straight 100-yard games out of the backfield. They're going to have to run the ball successfully, which is not going to be easy. I don't think against a Dallas defense that's been top 5 in points per game allowed and yards.
I think the key to it really is someone you didn't mention because he was limited in practice. He said he was 80% before the Bears game. Christian Watson, who has really helped their offense go. Even obviously it was with Aaron Rodgers at QB, but he had 3 touchdowns versus the Cowboys last year and that overtime win that they had. And that's what the Packers have lived off of is like, big plays and play action. And Watson is the guy for that, right? Like I think Jordan Love, I was looking at some numbers, has the difference of play action versus your regular snaps. His numbers bump up like the 4th highest most in the NFL versus play action. He also has like the 4th highest average depth of target, but he's the 3rd least sack quarterback. So they're able to protect him up. Obviously versus Dallas, that's a whole different animal. But I think the Packers have like 5 big plays in them. And will those 5 big plays be enough to have them at 21 to 24 points at the end of the game in a 27-24 type game? That's my question is will those big plays be enough to keep them in this?
Well, talk about Dallas being dominant at times. They've won 9 games by 20-plus points this year. That is the second most in a single season. Let's move on to the Sunday nighter, the Rams and the Lions. It's the first time in playoff history where both quarterbacks were the starter for the other team at some point. What would be a better story? Matthew Stafford beating the team that he could never get a playoff victory for, or Jared Goff besting a team that wanted to move on from him shortly after taking them to the Super Bowl?
To me, it's Jared Goff. Like make Matthew Stafford walk off the field, make him watch you feel something that he never did, and that's his home. Like giving the Lions their first playoff win since '91 at home. Goff hung up on McVay when they made that call. So hey McVay, congrats on your Super Bowl with that All-Star team. Now where are we? That stadium is groaning for a victory. To me, I want to see Goff be able to kind of throw to Stafford's face. Like this is you will never feel this, even though you do have a Super Bowl championship.
This is a big deal for Jared Goff. He won't come out and admit it. He did say, it still stings what happened, but he didn't. He tried to downplay it. Even Sean McVay came out and said, "Listen, I screwed it up the way I handled it." And really, that's the only way you can do it this week. You're not going to win that fight, even if, like, most people were like, "Yeah, we kind of get you moving off of Jared Goff so you could get one of the most electrifying passers the league has had in the last quarter century." Like, we kind of get it, but you're not going to win that one. So this is a big, big deal for Jared Goff, and it's a huge deal for Detroit. Enormous. Their last playoff win was January 5th of 1992. They have lost 9 straight playoff games, which is the longest streak ever in NFL history. This is the first home playoff game, as we all know, in 3 decades. This is some big-time stuff here, man. And if the Rams lose, oh, heck, we haven't had a first-round pick since we took Jared Goff in 2016. We got a bunch of young up-and-comers. We still feel good about Matthew Stafford standing upright another season, but we feel like we're really making strides. Boy, if Detroit loses this is going to sting, and then the questions are going to start surrounding Jared Goff if he is not perfect Sunday night.
Oh yeah, like you can't. I feel like you can't. You're at home. I don't feel like I don't know if you can afford to lose this game if you're Detroit. Like you are more talented, I think, where they have the advantage as the QB, and if you lose this game, that's where all eyes are going to go to the quarterback. Obviously, depending on how the game plays out. But I think the Lions do win, though, right? I think this is a good matchup for Detroit. Like Aiden Hutchinson, who kind of freestyles a little bit. Like, what better quarterback to freestyle than Stafford, who never gets outside of the pocket? I like this matchup for Detroit.
I think stopping Kyren Williams is a huge deal this week. Detroit has got to stop him. And if he has any degree of success, look out. And I'm not saying that just because I picked him in the touchdown pool that you seem to be upset about on Twitter. Like, you didn't know that we could repick.
No, I was going through, like, which of these playoff players didn't I pick already? So I went with Jahmyr Gibbs, so I need Jahmyr Gibbs to get a touchdown this week. So yeah, because I was talking with Dalton about it a couple weeks ago, and he's like, I was saving this guy for the playoffs. Like, oh, okay, I didn't know we had to save guys for the playoffs.
By the way, we are very much like the NFL here at John Boy Media. We just kind of make up rules as we go along. I didn't even know we were doing it through the playoffs. Like, I thought it was a regular season award. We don't have fantasy football awards for the playoffs. If you want to do that, you start a new season. I should have been crowned the regular season champ.
I also I want to see what the percentages of like touchdowns for you per touchdowns those players have scored. Like, I got one with Jake Bobo. Like, I picked Jake Bobo for one. I picked Hunter Henry for one. So I haven't picked all stars. Like, I want to see what my percentage of total touchdowns is too.
That's pretty good. Yeah, you could get a nice little star on your chart or something.
Yeah, I picked Kyle. I'm still playing for win. Jahmyr Gibbs, big game.
Yeah.
But I think Detroit's gonna put up 30 plus.
Okay.
I really do versus this defense. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a huge part of that. I think they're real. I know they were mocked for like, oh, we're going to use Jahmyr Gibbs like you've never seen a player use, and like, okay, you're going to hand the ball off to him 6 times and give him a couple swing passes. I do think they're going to use him in a lot of different ways. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's just, can you outpace the Rams, because that Lions secondary is not great.
No, it's not.
And you've got Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. If you just had one, right, you can, do some stuff with Brian Branch and double team some stuff. But there's They are weak in their secondary.
Yeah. By the way, the Rams, I think since week 10, best record in the NFL at 7-1. That one lone loss was the punt return by the Ravens in overtime.
The NFL playoffs are here, and we've teamed up with DraftKings, an official partner of the NFL, who is kicking things off with a huge offer. Throughout the playoffs, all new customers will get $200 in bonus bets instantly when they place their first $5 wager on anything. Anything. So download the DraftKings app now and use promo code football today. Wondering what you can use your $200 in bonus bets on? Combine multiple bets together from the same game for a shot at an even bigger payout. Sports betting is not yet available in your state? Not to worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code football today. Bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code football today. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You'll be glad you did.
All right, Super Wildcard weekend gets started Saturday afternoon in Houston. Joe Flacco and the Browns taking on C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. Which fantastic quarterback story will we be talking about at the end of this game?
I think Joe Flacco, just because he's going to be the winner, even though I like C.J. Stroud. Well, obviously I like C.J. Stroud more than Flacco, but it's going to be Flacco because, like, even though C.J. Stroud didn't play in that game earlier this year, the reason why the Browns won that is they just beat the shit out of their right tackle the entire game, right? And if you don't think, Schwartz is going to be, sending Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith at their right tackle while blitzing other spots of the field, I think that Browns defense is coming to hunt C.J. Stroud in this game.
Well, especially based on what he does against zone. He just, the Browns have 3 good corners that they don't mind leaving on islands out there, and they're going to say, go get them. Go get them. So it'll be interesting. Stroud has been simply fantastic. He would become the first rookie quarterback since 1970 merger to take a team from worst to first in a division and win a playoff game if that happens. He's just been great. Now we're having the conversations. Well, how many quarterbacks would you take ahead of C.J. Stroud? And the only ones you're hearing for the most part are Mahomes and Lamar, and that's it. Now, I don't know if we've reached that status yet because I still like Joe Burrow an awful lot. I still like Justin Herbert an awful lot. But he is it too early to put him in that sort of conversation?
It is. I think you need to have another year. He also hasn't faced a ton of I was looking at it this year because how has he dealt with really great pass rush teams? And you look at the schedule, it's none of these teams really put any fear in your heart as a pass rush unit. But hey, if he can come out and win this game and look good, right? Doesn't need to be great, but look good versus Browns defense, then we are talking about him in getting into that tier, right? Obviously, it'll be premature, but we'll be talking about it and be somewhat justified.
All I can tell you is I'm nervous as hell. There's only been one playoff game where I ever felt we're going to win this one. And I've had how many Browns playoff games since I've been alive where I've really, really watched? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think there's only been 12 playoff games, if my math's right. And there's only one where I ever felt we're gonna win, and we ended up winning. That was against the Indianapolis Colts.
See, you're very different than me. When my team's in a playoff game, I legitimately always believe they're gonna win.
Really? I don't know.
Last year, Giants versus Eagles. Go listen to that preview pod. I mean, I'm there you go. Describe your. I thought we got this is obviously I knew their favor. They're more talented. But I'm this is the playoffs. Now I think Eli broke my brain a little bit on that too, where we went on some fun runs, beating the 18-0 mighty the mighty Patriots. But I kind of maybe it's the football player in me. It's I just feel it's football. You've always got a chance.
Well, that's the thing. I think it is a football player in you because when I did that Vikings-Bengals game, Jason McCourty was my analyst, and he was part of the 0-16 Cleveland Browns in 2017. And he goes, I'm going to be honest with you. He said, first of all, he loved his time in Cleveland. He goes, now, was there some screwed up shit? Yeah. But he said he loved it. And he added, there wasn't one week where we didn't feel like we weren't going to win. Like people probably thought that by the time we got to 0-13 or whatever, that you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to get to the end of the season. He said, no, no, no. We still felt like our coaches put in a game plan and put us in a position to where we felt like we were going to win. So I was like, okay, it's interesting. I guess I'll buy. I am not going to answer the Flacco Stroud question. Pass. I can't take it. I can't do it.
I'm excited for you, and I think we're going to be coming back on the show on Monday, and you'll be talking about
I'm just going to warn you right now.
a victory.
If it doesn't go the right direction, I might not show up the rest of the year.
Well, it's going to. I'm sticking with my 49ers Browns Super Bowl.
Thank you. Steelers and Miami both fighting seemingly uphill battles in Buffalo and in Kansas City, respectively. Do you give either underdog a shot?
I feel like I'm going to give both a shot, right? Miami, they lost to them by 7, and I think they had a chance. They had a chance to win it at the end of the game. Now I think Kansas City had a great game plan, but hey, it's Mike McDaniel's a smart coach. You can't run this. You can't run it back with your game plan. Those Tyreek Hill's worst game probably of the season for the Dolphins, and then the Bills and Steelers are like the exact opposite team. Where like the Bills should be so good, but then they have these screw ups, and it's like, what the hell's going on with Buffalo? And then the Pittsburgh is like, how the hell are they winning this game? So on paper, in reality, I don't think the Steelers can beat the Bills, even though Mason Rudolph has been playing a lot better than I expected. But Miami, I don't know if I can see it. I don't think I can believe it till I see it. Like I don't think they're going to win this game, and I think the conversation is going to change around to this playoff these playoffs.
I agree. It's the reason they haven't given him all that money in that extension yet, because I think they don't know. And by the way, there's nothing worse than watching football when it's like -5 degrees. I'm sorry. It just looks horrible out there. Everybody looks like they cannot wait until there's triple zeros on the clock. And that's so sad because you're like, it's a playoff game. Like if it's 20 or 23 degrees, that's one thing. Have you ever been to a game where it's negative?
Oh no.
Oh, I have. And I left at halftime. Browns Vikings. I want to say it was like probably 8 degrees, but that stadium was right on the lake. And so I remember saying to whomever I was with that day, I said, if we leave right at the beginning of half, we will be home. We'll sprint to the car. We'll be home by the middle of the third quarter. Sure enough, my ass was sitting right in front of that fireplace watching the second half of the game, a game that we won in overtime, I believe, on a fake field goal. There you go.
There you go. I've practiced in I think 20, like 35 degree light rain, which sucks, and then played in probably 25 to 30 degrees. And been at games that were that weather before too. Here's the thing is I'm in Florida and it's 50 to 60 degrees and it's cool out here, and then seeing the coldness through the TV and it's just playoff football. So it's just this is familiar territory, and I love it.
The answer is no, in part because Miami, I don't care where they're playing anybody, 1-5 against winning teams this year. That's horrible. Now, Kansas City hasn't been great. They just haven't been. The second half of the year has been a disaster at times offensively. But the Dolphins, it just doesn't feel like it's there.
They have no
They've
pass rush.
No, I mean,
everyone's
so
hurt. It's
up.
Christian Wilkins, and that's it. That's all they have up front. I don't care how many, will they sign Justin Houston and a couple other aging
Melvin
guys
Ingram's there.
Yeah, it's Christian Wilkins or bust for them, and I think Christian Jones, the other Christian defensive tackle, it's Christian Jones on the other side. I think he wants to have a good game after not playing so well in that Miami game either. So, I believe in Reed, Mahomes, and that defense. I believe in those three, and I'm taking them to win this one.
Yeah, and as far as the other game, without T.J. Watt, I just think that, man, Josh Allen makes too many plays, and they have won 5 in a row, so they seem to be moving along just fine. So we'll see.
Steelers have thrown up some stinkers in the playoffs too.
Yes, they have.
We that. What was the Was it the Chiefs that they got like dominated a couple years ago, and then that game versus the Browns where the Browns were up what 30 like 28-35 to 0.
They turned it over. They turned it over 6 times in that Browns game. Their last playoff win, I think, was the 2016 season at Kansas City, and that's been it.
Yeah, they've had some. Yeah, you think about that Jags game. You know, they've thrown up some stinkers.
This is their longest drought without a playoff victory since 1970.
We're talking about 2016, and then we just 2 topics ago talk about the Lions haven't had a home playoff game since before I was born.
All right, where are you watching all the games?
At home on the couch. It's my favorite time of the year. 1, because it's just playoffs. 2, I don't have to sit here and try and watch other games and pay attention with the other game. Right. I get to focus every play. Don't gotta care about anything else. Don't need to check my phone to see what's happening. Just watch every play and enjoy it. How about yourself?
Well, since the I work both Saturday and Sunday the next 2 weeks at NFL Network, but I'm not on until after the latest game of the day. So I have worked it out with my company that I will be coming in between games because I want to watch with my sons, which is something I've never done. Never been able to watch a playoff game with them.
Well, that's nice and sentimental.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, until we lose, and then I'm going to kick them out of the house, and they're never welcome again.
Do you like having the first game of the weekend or no?
We have been before. I think we lost the only time that has happened. No. There's other times.
Was that Kelly Holcomb? No, that was a Sunday game. Kelly Holcomb start versus Steelers.
No. I think Christmas Eve of '88, we lost. It was the time we played Houston in the last regular season game and won, and then the next week we lost. Home wildcard game. All right, listen. Enjoy the games. Enjoy all the coaching moves. We will be back at it again early next week for more fun and excitement. Producer Mikey always does a bang-up job. Thank you very much. Bobby Skinner from the Talking Giants world. Great job as always. I am Chris Rose. We will see you next week here on Football Today.